everybody. Welcome to the Gapology Guys podcast, your resource for leadership tips and frameworks from our series of books. And tonight we're going to tap into a discussion on value and how you can leverage one of our most powerful tools from Gapology to create impact in your leadership and life in general. So let's go ahead and jump right in with Mark Tines. Hey Mark, how are you doing?
Good, Brian. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited for tonight. We're testing a new recording system. We're really moving up in the world here.
Wow.
Hopefully, and I'd love to hear from our viewers if this is good, better than our previous software that we were using. We were just using Zoom before, and now we're using a new one. So I'm interested to see if this is any better. So let us know. But hopefully it'll all go smooth. And I'm excited also for tonight's topic. So we're going to be talking about value tonight. And I was thinking about this morning. A friend of mine sent me a sort of a list of things that you need to do as leaders. And one of them was creating value and thinking about how you create value. And it started the wheels spinning on value. And I was thinking about, so with Gapology, how do we create it? What are some tools within Gapology and so forth? And we landed on the habit ladder. We think this is such a universal tool that works in a lot of different ways. It works great for creating meetings and a lot of things. And I think when we think about our values, it could be a really good framework for us to start creating value in our lives, in our work lives, our personal lives, and so forth. So I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Mark. What do you think?
Well, the habit ladder, which is part of Gapology, probably one of the most, if not the most successful tool. Would that be safe to say? In Gapology, we had a Fortune 25 company roll it worldwide, the habit ladder. And we found the habit ladder and then created it in essence by observing the top performers in an organization. And we found that they created habit in their team by using the same set of steps, even though they didn't know it and they didn't know each other, and they had different backgrounds in education and et cetera. And there was a very clear 5-step process to creating habit. And, if you think about you as an organization having to roll out a new process, you want that to become habit in the team. And in the virtual world today, where you're not necessarily face to face and you're communicating this new process, it becomes even more critical. So the habit ladder is incredibly effective. Every leader should use it, period, regardless of organization. It really wouldn't matter. And it literally works every time. I don't know if that's what you were asking me, but the habit ladder has incredible value because it creates a consistency in process that most leaders are trying to achieve. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. It's such a powerful tool, just the framework of it, because it's really a sort of an interpersonal, skill, specifically around communication, developing people, delivering something that's important, like you said. I think it can be a wonderful tool. Something maybe to print out, have on your wall behind you, I think would be a great option. What do you think?
Yeah, we know someone did that worldwide.
Yeah.
When you think of value, though, let's give them a little more detail there. So we observed the behavior of the top performing leaders who were creating incredible value. So their P&Ls look better than everyone else's. And we observed the behavior of the bottom 10% of leaders who were missing the budget and missing, were negative in value. And the difference between the two was the habit ladder. Mm-hmm. That top group did it. The bottom group didn't do it at all. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah.
At all.
Very much.
At all. So these steps literally create value. So to Brian's point, if you simply do these 5 steps and we put it in Gapology as a ladder, we just view it as an upward ladder in our minds. If you do these 5 steps, you will create value in whatever you do. And we saw it work everywhere. No exceptions. It was that simple, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you've got to do it as a leader. You've got to know it as a leader. It's got to be the top thing in your toolbox.
Yeah, definitely. So when we talk about value, I think we should lay out a definition that we're referring to here. So something that we found online is, is value is really the worth of an asset, the utility, the importance of something. And I was thinking about that, the worth of an asset. So as employees of organizations or leaders of organizations, we have a worth. And I think most of us want to deliver high worth from our role as a leader or an employee in a company. It's something that I think is sort of innate in people who are high performers that really want to do a good job. They want to demonstrate that they're worth something. And as leaders, we can create some things to really set that in motion for our teams. And I will put on the screen when I do the edit later, I'll put the habit ladder image on the screen so people can see it. So we'll walk you through that. And what I thought we would do is walk through the habit ladder, the different steps, and we'll talk about how each of the steps can help to create value. How does that sound?
Yeah, that's great. How can they get the habit ladder if they want to have it printed and put on the wall in their office? How would they get it?
Great question. So we do have a printable PDF for that. And what I would say is maybe as a one-time offer, maybe you just send us an email and we'll send it to you.
Send us $1 million and we will forward it to you and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, exactly. Just send us an email at contact@gapology.org. Just ask for the habit ladder and I'll send it to you. So
it is of substantial value and to your tonight's topic, and you should, as a leader, probably put it on the wall, literally. It should be in the break room on the wall. It should be in each of the offices you manage. What's complicated this whole thing is, virtual leadership and rolling out new processes to people across on a Zoom screen or, whatever they're on. And the habit ladder can be used in that realm as well, but you have to understand it and know it, and you can leverage it. And it's literally amazing. We've been amazed by the habit ladder. Would that be safe to say?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's interesting, and I think it is super important to consider how you lead in virtual work teams. I think you just have to be better at everything. You have to be better at communication.
Thank you.
You just have to be better at setting expectations. Yeah, better at accountability.
Title of a new book: Be Better.
Yeah,
I like that. Or a T-shirt.
Yeah, or a T-shirt. Right.
You got to be better.
Yeah, and I think the habit ladder is the way to get there. In Gapology, we talk about using it specifically when we're discussing the training root solution in Gapology that's under the knowledge gap. And we talk about specifically there, but it applies in many, many places. But if you want to get better, training is that root solution that you're going to want to go after. And the habit ladder is the key resource there.
Yeah, as we look back to, when did I meet you? 20 years ago?
Yeah.
A little more than that.
Yeah.
We were interacting with our teams and teaching the habit ladder in person.
Hmm.
And to do it virtually is harder, but it's even more important. So the difference between sitting in front of someone and gauging body language and reaction feedback directly is so different. So the habit ladder is an incredibly effective tool that you can use virtually as well. We wouldn't have known that pre-COVID, pre-Zoom meetings, virtual leadership. A lot of leaders today do not interact with their team in person at all, but they have to know that that new process they just rolled out is fully understood and at the habit level. Habit's just a term that we came up with as the outcome of great training, right?
Right.
This new process, whatever it is in your organization, doesn't have to be a new process. It could be an old process that is not habit yet, but whatever. The things that create value in your organization need to be habit level. Oh, write that down.
Yep.
Now think about that. The things that create value need to be habit level.
Oh, I love that.
And the habit ladder are the simple 5 steps that create that value. And you owe us big time, folks, for this. If you simply execute this, you can create great value through habit.
Mm-hmm.
Human behavior matters, and human behavior is driven by creating habit. Write that down too.
I'm writing.
That's another book.
I'm almost out of
I can't
ink
believe
here.
how many books they have to write. So this is a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Human behavior definitely matters. And, for our listeners and viewers, now you just got a little glimpse into what I get to experience every day when I talk to Mark. It's just genius that just rolls off his tongue.
And then onto a shirt,
And onto a shirt or a book or something.
When it comes through your brain, it comes onto a shirt,
Yeah. There we go. We're a good team. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's huge.
Yeah. So let's walk through the habit ladder. And I thought what we would do is just kind of go step by step. And we'll just talk about what value, how it's impacted by each step. So the first step on the habit ladder is communication. And we really think that we need to, sometimes we're so busy that we don't stop and think about things. I think we need to pause and define what value looks like for our team, for individual roles, specific roles, and so forth, and then communicate that to the team. But we need to think about that ahead of time, process it, really make sure that it's aligned with your purpose, aligned with your largest goals that you're going after, your objectives, and so forth. And then define along with that. So what are the behavioral expectations that will deliver the value? So we need to know what it looks like, but we also need to understand what will deliver that value. And then we also need to define.
So hold on, just so I understand you. You're saying in addition to communicating maybe a new process, you're also communicating to the team how it impacts value, how it impacts metrics. That is huge. And that's often missed. So this new process is rolling out. Well, what's it for? I don't want to do that. But when you tie to it the metrics that create the value and how you're going to measure it and how they're going to be held accountable for those, it changes everything. And that's all in this communication step. So the step you're on is huge. It's not just, hey, we got a new process. It's, hey, we got a new process. Here's what it is. Here's how it's measured, and so on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. And that's really the last bullet that I had as well, is that measurement piece. Because we oftentimes just say, go do something, but we don't tell them what do they need to achieve with it? What are the behaviors to do it? How are we going to measure it? How are we going to post that information, and so forth?
Yeah, we had an organization we were working with, and we said they were rolling out a new process, and we said, and it was virtual discussion on a Zoom format. And we said, hey, effective Monday, we will be measuring each of you on this metric. How do you think that changed the communication?
Yeah.
We will be measuring you on this metric. We will be reporting back each week how you performed on this metric. So the communication suddenly changed. So we've got their attention now, and we've defined the behaviors. So those of you that live in a virtual world, and many of you do, you have to figure out what communication looks like in the virtual world and how the team's feedback back to you, back and forth on the communication piece of this new process, whatever you're doing, is of great significance. And again, you can apply this to a process that you've had in place for years, but maybe you haven't actually effectively leveraged the habit ladder against it. And you may want to start over. So determine the processes that create value and go after the habit ladder with those, and you'll be very pleased.
Yeah. One thing I want to comment on that as well is that your top performers, your A players, they want to be recognized, and a scorecard or some sort of tracker, that's the way to do that. If you want to motivate and inspire and really get your A players committed, you have to measure that stuff. You communicate it, you do all those things, but if you end up not posting those results, those A players that are winning all the time, they're not going to feel that sense of pride.
Well, the other part of it is these A players have likely figured it out, and can communicate back to the team how they're achieving that. And that can be of huge ongoing communication back to the team. Here's how the top performers are achieving this great metric. So this communication piece is huge, and it's ongoing. It's not a one-time event. It's literally, I live in a weekly world, so it's literally every Monday we will talk about the metrics of this new process. And those that are achieving it can speak to how they're doing it and help the whole group.
Yep. And that brings us really to the next step on the habit ladder, which is understanding. So the first step is to communicate something, and the next step is to make sure that you have verified understanding. So do they understand the desired value? Do they understand the behavioral expectations, including the behavioral piece and the outcome piece? And do they understand the measurements that are being used and how it's going to be posted or shared and so forth? So we do need to make sure that we do verify that understanding. And when we talked about the leaders who weren't those top performers, early on, they didn't do this. They didn't verify understanding, and they definitely didn't do the next step, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah, leaders often overestimate their communication.
Yeah.
So they do not verify that the team understood it. So after you've communicated brilliantly, hopefully, you go back to the team and say, okay, walk me back through what you just heard, what you're going to do about it, etc. And it's very telling. So you have to ensure that they understood, and have them walk you back through it. Have them walk you back through the process, this new process you're rolling out, and verify their understanding. You have to. In some cases, you'll need to test them, literally send them a test that they'll have to complete. In some cases, you're going to have to observe that new behavior and have it on video or whatever it may be. You've got to figure it out for whatever you're rolling out, but you have to verify that the team understood. All too often, we hear leaders say, yeah, they got it. I communicated it. It was on the 3 p.m. call. Don't you remember? So they got it. No, that's not how they got it.
Yeah, and there's one thing that you had mentioned several times in our podcast, and that's random recaps.
Random recaps. I love random recaps. Yeah, so random recaps are, okay, we've covered this new process. Brian, walk me through your understanding of the new process. And
Yeah,
all of a sudden you gain an understanding of where you're at, and someone else and someone else. And the other thing that is incredible about random recaps is if the team knows you're going to do that, their engagement level soars. They come to the meeting knowing that they're going to be called upon.
yeah,
Everything changes.
yeah.
There's no multitasking. No multitasking.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with the virtual reality. But random recaps work in person as well. Brian, walk us through it. What'd you hear?
Right. Yeah, I think it is such a powerful tool. And again, it sort of rewards your top performers. It rewards the people who are paying attention because it gives them an opportunity to sort of shine.
Oh, yeah.
By repeating back, hey, this is exactly what I heard.
Yeah. And often they can take the group to a different level. So they've added a tactic that you hadn't thought of that suddenly brings the execution level of that process to another level.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful, and you should let your team know that you will always do random recaps.
Yeah.
To make sure they're listening, to make sure you were understood, that you were clear, and it changes everything.
Yep. And so the next step then on the ladder is to validate agreement and commitment. So when you think about agreement, you can communicate, you can check for understanding, but unless they agree to it, they're never going to actually commit to it. So think about that. So think about how you can actually validate that. And random recaps again is a great tool for that. But are they agreeing to and committing to the desired values that you're going after? That you think people want to deliver when they're looking at this, and also the behavioral expectations. Are they agreeing to those things? Are they committing to them? And then the measurements. Do they agree to those? Are these the right measurements? That's going to show whether or not you're actually delivering value.
Yeah. So this is step 3 on the habit ladder, and it is absolutely missed by most leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So they've communicated this new process, they verified understanding, they skip over step 3, which is ask for their agreement and commitment. So picture the leader saying, hey, Brian, are you all in on this? Do I have your commitment in front of your peer group here? Do I have your commitment to execute this fully? Incredibly powerful. Totally game-changing, but however, the most missed step in the habit ladder. Once we added this and understood it, it made the habit ladder become very clear and very powerful, and again, creating value. So again, you're asking, Brian, are you committed to this? And are you in agreement to execute it starting right now? And it's just amazing. And again, when people raise their hand and say, yes, I'm in, their behavior changes. And again, that creates value. Again, think about it. You're executing a process that is going to create value. And you've got the team saying, I'm in. I'm in. Imagine that. Maybe you have it on video. I'm in. Game changer, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that the success of that exercise comes down to your communication skills as a leader. And if you think about it ahead of time and plan it out, how you're going to ask for agreement, how you're going to ask for commitment, is it going to be a raise of hands or however you're going to do it? And I also sort of think maybe you communicate that right at the beginning of the meeting, making sure everyone's on the same page, especially that core leadership team. Asking for their commitment and agreement to these things helps to uncover people who maybe have more questions and just want to ask more.
Yeah. No, it simply works.
Mm-hmm.
You get them to the point where they're committing to it and they're in agreement, then we're all in. And all in would be the objective of the habit ladder at this point of the habit ladder. And we know that it works. So the winning leaders to clarify, the top, let's say 10% performers got their teams all in. They got them committed to the things we were doing. And that blew the metrics out of the water and created value that, beyond our expectations by far. There was a point at which we were achieving all of the profit of the entire company in our small group. Because we learned Gapology and we learned the habit ladder. And it works, and you can make it your own.
Yeah. So let's look at the fourth step. So the next one is practice. And it's not just practicing in a silo, practicing all alone in your little office at home, but practice with feedback. So anytime we practice anything, in order to improve and perform at a high level, we have to get feedback, coaching, and so forth. And as leaders, this is the part that's really difficult in virtual workforces. So being able to observe people and providing feedback is a great way. But if we look at anything that we're trying to create value around in our performance, pause a minute and just really think about how can I get some feedback on this? I want to make sure that what I'm doing is actually mattering for the organization, for my work team, and for the customer or whatever. So some things that we're saying that we can really do here is to provide a scorecard for measurement, first of all. Make sure you're tracking, if you're actually delivering on your goals and commitments and so forth. And then ask for that feedback. Feedback specifically on performance. And then coaching is something slightly different. That's where you can have somebody actually coach you and help grow your skills. But getting that feedback, that part, it really takes that practice to a whole new level. Yeah,
you may need some mentors on the team who will observe the behavior of others and be able to give them feedback, once they're already executing that. But in either case, it's critical to allow practice and feedback. And the one thing we found that often leaders will misinterpret is the first one to get there may not be the best. The best performer on your team may take longer to get there than others. So don't give up on them. They need practice and feedback, practice and feedback, practice and feedback. So figure out what that looks like in a virtual world. We have many times assigned mentors who were responsible for the practice and feedback, and they would work with the team on achieving greatness in that new process, as an example. And that really worked well. But again, the top performer may not have been the first one to get there. They may actually have taken more time, but suddenly they become the top performer. But practice and feedback is critical. It's essential in every sport and every activity that we do. So figure out what that looks like with regard to your process that you're working on with the habit ladder, and what that looks like within your team. And again, within virtual, it's difficult. How do you do it? What's it look like?
Yeah, no, great point. And I do think, nothing really beats experience. So the more you practice, the better you get at something. And, but having that coach, that person that's right alongside, providing that feedback in the moment can really change, your performance overall.
Yeah, in the virtual world, we've seen scenarios where the mentor was, again, virtual and distant, but they had a weekly recap with the individuals they were coaching and were able to improve their, performance dramatically. Oftentimes to the point where the person being coached becomes the top performer. Yep. Better than the mentor.
Yeah.
It can literally happen. So you have to figure that out for what you're trying to achieve. And again, look at the things that create value in your organization and go after those things, those processes, and work to be, excellent in those.
Absolutely. So the last step then is habit. So at the top of the ladder, our last one is labeled habit. And really, we were trying to create habit and reinforce that habit. When we have people who are performing at a high level, we want to reinforce that, provide recognition, celebration, for those who are delivering that value that we're going after. And then also, Mark, you talked about mentoring. Well, these are great persons to leverage to help others. So, anybody that's performing at a high level, delivering high value, see how you can leverage them with others. Sometimes they just want, they would actually like to be involved in helping to grow the next level of talent.
Yeah. So habit is really the destination that you want to get to. So you want to make sure that your annual recognition considers the behaviors that you're looking for and the metrics that are driven by that, so that it becomes cultural. Mm-hmm. Habits where we want to get to. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so ideally, in the world we lived in, we did it weekly. So we had weekly recognition around the top performers in the metrics that we knew were driven by the habit that we were looking for. That changed the world for us. So our peer group initially didn't do that. We were able to blow them away. Would that be safe to say? Mm-hmm. In results.
Yeah.
Because we were very clear weekly, and again, it may vary in your organization, on the recognition around the metrics that were delivered by the behaviors driven by the habit ladder. So you got to figure this out for your world, but it works every time. And even when you get to habit, it's not over with there. You have to then make it cultural, make it ongoing, make it, I know that next March, the trophies are going to be awarded for this result. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Tell them in advance. We're going to announce the region of the year based on these results next March. That will help you create the habits that get there. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, I think it's a motivator. So for your underperformers, that's a motivator to have that target, to have something to shoot for like that. And then also that recognition and seeing people, come up on stage and get an award or just even a simple email, that helps to reward and recognize your top performers. Because again, like we talked about at the very beginning, when we talk about value, that's the worth of an asset. And we're all an asset in our work lives, certainly, also in our personal lives. And you can apply a lot of these things to your personal life as well. We want to feel that we're delivering value, that we're worth something. So I think as leaders, we need to pause, take time, and think about this stuff and put in place, make it real for your organization, make it right for your organization. But the habit ladder is a great framework for all this.
Yeah, so the habit ladder creates value.
Yep.
And it's an essential, foundational piece of the Gapology book. So if you want to be a top performer, just jump on board.
Yep.
We're here to help.
Yeah, definitely reach out. So I think this is probably a good spot to leave it. contact@gapology.org is our email. You can certainly reach out to us that way, or on social media. Certainly LinkedIn is the best way, probably there to reach out to us. But we'd love to engage in a conversation and help where we can. But thanks, Mark.
Everyone.
Another good one. We'll talk to you later. All right, that'll do it from here. For more information on all of our books, including Gapology, where you'll find the habit ladder, head on over to our website, gapology.org, for all the links and details. Everyone have a fantastic week. We'll talk to you soon.